Brave New World is a project which originally came out of our working, teaching and engaging with public debate around human rights, equality and the law. Inevitably, with topics which are all over the press and social media and which have a direct impact on our day-to-day lives, everyone comes to the discussion with their own baggage and preconceptions. We wanted to give people a different way into the subject and also a chance to test out ideas in a situation which was fun and engaging. We therefore put together a board game involving fictional creatures, goblins, founding a new society on a faraway planet on an uninhabited island. The idea was to step back and engage with critical issues, but in a way which was more relaxed and free than directly stepping into the real world with its current tensions. For instance, if we leapt into a discussion about whether someone should be obliged to ice a cake for a same-sex wedding when they have religious objections, or whether it is appropriate for teachers of young children to cover their face for religious reasons, everyone would come with strong preconceived ideas rooted in their own identity and values. However, in negotiating competing needs of goblins, we can strip at least some of that away. From the beginning, with goblins, we also found there was a resonance with some work we were doing around historical, legal and political conflicts. Looking at clashes and problems in the past is a different way of allowing people to make connections, explore ideas, but without some of the complications which comes with the immediacy of tackling contemporary concerns head on.
Equally, we discovered that while some people love goblins, others are not so keen on fantasy. So we developed different versions of the game, some historical and others in alternative forms of fiction. This was an extremely important consideration and new journey, because one critical dimension of the project was that the activities were intended to be enjoyable and engaging. Law has a reputation for being dry and abstract, and we wanted to get away from that. But obviously, it isn't very convincing if you find yourself repeatedly stating, "Trust me, this is fun." So we decided to come up with versions of the game which might appeal to people who weren't especially passionate about either goblins or 17th century history. This was the genesis of the island and the other worlds which followed. One thing which we also realised quite early on was that the games work best if they were accompanied by stories, and therefore also characters about whom the players cared. Participants have to inhabit the world in which the action takes place, both for the initial board game and the reflection afterwards to be meaningful. Also, for the historical games, part of the benefit and learning relates to growing an understanding of life in the era in question, making the narratives valuable from this perspective as well. The formula which we developed early on for all forms of Brave New World and its various applications was essentially this: narrative, gameplay, and then reflection or discussion. This has been successful, and we've received some very affirming feedback from the groups we've worked with. Certainly, we ourselves always enjoy going out to facilitate sessions with Brave New World and get a lot out of the activities ourselves.
Part of the ethos of Brave New World is that it is meant to be experiential. Players have freedom to respond to situations as they see fit. They are not required to come up with a correct solution or buy into one particular worldview or set of perceptions. However, it is intended to then provide a framework for further discussion, reflection, or learning. The nature of this depends on the application of game in the context. Essentially, we have three applications. First one, with the schools or colleges teaching law, politics, or sociology. Second, with the schools or colleges teaching history, in particular 17th century England and early colonial North America. And thirdly, with groups in a workplace or voluntary sector setting thinking about equality and diversity. The purpose of Brave New World is not to teach people about equality and diversity in the sense of giving them information about the practical requirements with which they need to comply, but is intended to lay the groundwork for that kind of activity. All too often, this sort of training can be perceived as box-ticking exercise, or learning about a set of burdensome rules which benefit minorities. By giving people a chance to try out different patterns of behavior in a safe setting and reflecting afterwards on the way in which the scenario played out, participants can discover for themselves the collective consequences of injustice within society or an organization. All of our games work for all applications, but some lend themselves more naturally than others to particular contexts. Please browse the website for a guide to each version of Brave New World. The Brave New World project is neither profit-making nor commercial. If you are interested in working with us, please get in touch, and we would be delighted to have a chat with you. In some circumstances, we're able to supply games and resources for free, but for large quantities or long-distance shipping, we might need to charge to cover production and postage costs.